It's another edition of Kaleidoscope on Channels Television. Hello and welcome. I'm Anne Nwawadu. On the program today, we speak with the CEO of Iko Insurance PLC, Babatunde Fajemirokun, on the organization's corporate social responsibility activities and how these activities have impacted on customers, shareholders, and the community. Once again, welcome to Kaleidoscope. Iko Insurance PLC is one of the leading insurance firms in Nigeria. Let's tell you how the journey began 58 years ago. Iko Insurance PLC was established in 1963 as an insurance, health maintenance and asset management group in Nigeria with market-leading positions in its key business lines. Iko commenced operations in Nigeria as an agency of American life insurance company Alico, a subsidiary of American International Group AIG. The company was incorporated, registered and licensed in Nigeria as American Life Insurance Company Limited as a wholly owned subsidiary of Alico and AIG in 1970 that offered life and pension products as well as insurance services. It was later renamed the American International Insurance Company Limited upon the acquisition of a 60% stake by the federal government of Nigeria and subsequently listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange in 1990, after which both shareholders divested. Following the consolidation of the insurance industry in 2007, the company acquired NFI Insurance PLC and Lambda Insurance Company Limited, both cumulatively accounting for less than 30% of Iko's pre-acquisition gross premiums. The company subsequently recertified as a general insurance and life assurance company, taking advantage of its legacy, brand, franchise, and strong retail distribution network to grow a leading general insurance business. I sat with the Chief Executive Officer of Iko Insurance PLC, Babatunde Fajemirokun. Let's hear more from him. Almost 60 years in business. We have to start this conversation with you telling us the story behind this successful journey.
Thank you. Iko started in 1963 as an agency office of the AIG, American International Group, then obviously the largest financial services group in the world. Since then, we've morphed from a life agency office to a composite insurance player with leading brands in the life side on the non-life business and also complementary franchises in asset management and health insurance. I'll say our success is largely driven by the entrepreneurial culture in Iko, investment in talent. We work a lot with best-in-class people, a focus on technology, and the key thing, customer experiences. And over time, I believe with anything to do with time in particular, is the ability to change and changing from within rather than the world forcing you to change. I would say that's probably one of our strongest suits today.
And how would you describe the current state of the insurance sector in Nigeria?
I would say in the Nigerian insurance market is probably in between the compulsory stage and retail expansion. In typical insurance market development, you would have 4 stages. And the first stage really would be around establishment of laws and regulation around insurance and insurance of corporate assets. The second would be around compulsory insurance. The third would be around retail expansion, and the fourth around diversified retail. Nigeria still today, as of 2019, had gross premiums as a market of about 490 billion. When compared to GDP, that's still less than 1%. So there's still a huge scope for growth. I believe we're currently at the cusp of the retail expansion. The corporate markets are really quite saturated. I wouldn't say there are any new businesses that come out of there. It's really around retail, individuals, SMEs. And we believe that that's the future for the industry.
Is your CSR approach, that's your corporate social responsibility approach, in any way connected to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or do you have a roadmap that helps you drive these initiatives that you carry out?
Yes, indeed. Ours is actually quite linked to the SDG goals of the United Nations. There are currently about 17 SDG goals. Iko, we focus on about 5 of them for now. The first 4, which is really around no poverty, no hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, and then goal 8, which is focused on a decent workplace and economic growth. Over time, we will focus more on other environmental type policies. We think that they're necessary, but perhaps in our level of development as a nation, there's still a lot to do in these other areas.
You take the issue of healthcare very seriously. Share with us some of those initiatives you've carried out in that sector and the impact, of course, it has been able to make on beneficiaries.
It's a good question. I think for us, healthcare generally, health is wealth, really. I think COVID-19 has also shown us the impact of morbidity and mortality risks and the impact on our businesses. So what we've done over the last couple of years, especially last year, was to focus more on mortality, especially child mortality and maternal mortality. And we also focused on cancer. So last year, during the Breast Awareness Month, we supported women with IHC tests, immunohistochemistry tests. And the focus of that is really just to help with those that have been recognized or diagnosed with breast cancer. This tests costs a lot of money, and we felt that there's a need for us to support the cause in early detection, because once there's no early detection, the mortality increases. So there's been a lot of focus around that for us. The second was really around helping communities and providing post-delivery kits as well as training for community health workers, especially in rural areas, for childbirth and taking care of their children afterwards. And we provided them with the clean antiseptics and various other types of kits that they can use to ensure the increased level of protection for the children after birth. For COVID, we supported communities in different areas. So going back to the 5 goals that we focus on the SDG goals, there was a lot of hunger during that period. We also recognize that the industry or Nigeria works in a lot of black economy or informal sectors. And with no parties, with no businesses open, you found that a lot of people were really out of work. So we worked with various NGOs to provide feeding for children and families in various communities across Lagos in particular. And we also supported Lagos State with the industry to support health workers in providing them with group life cover as well for those that might contract the disease, might either fall sick or pass away.
Now, we cannot talk about health without talking about leading a healthy lifestyle, and Iko Insurance is known for championing this cause. How do you do it, and what have you been able to carry out in terms of activities connected to this?
A healthy lifestyle, we look at it at 2 levels. One, the employment or employees, and customers, of course. And if you look at it, let's take the employees, for example. Most diseases are either communicable or non-communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases are actually quite prevalent today, and they're key indicators that can drive towards that. Some indicators include things like excessive alcohol, tobacco smoking, sedentary lifestyle, lack of physical activity, your diet, as well as mental health. So what we did in our business was to look at first, as a business, we thought that, okay, we're insurance carriers, we understand risk, but how can we help customers actually change their lifestyle more positively? And we looked at it in 2 ways. So one is, as a business, we believe that we are lifestyle partners, so we collaborate with customers at each stage in their lives. So as you get married, as you have children, There are various risks involved in these processes. We come in to be able to support you during that process. So we see ourselves more as a lifestyle partner. And in that context, if, for example, you get a life insurance policy, you're a man and you get a life insurance policy for your family, you will typically have to be tested for various indicators, which will determine your premium. Now, if we can help you work on some of these activities, especially your physical activity, working on your lifestyle, because these lifestyle diseases are basically preventable, you would find that your premium rates would actually reduce. So in our case, we also brought that same insight to our employees. And we found that we collaborated with some technology companies to be able to upload various activity from like watches like this, Fitbit and other ones, where we will compete internally to see the best people or people that are more active in their lifestyle. And there will be a reward system for that. We also saw that, especially during the COVID period, with the lockdown period, depending on where you live, you might not have been able to do any exercise. But this actually forced people to even do exercises in their rooms. So I believe that it increased the productivity of our staff. In addition to, as we continue to roll this out for our customers, we would also embed it within our health insurance policies as well as our life insurance policies in particular.
Now, something caught my attention: access to psychologists for people who might need it. I mean, we see very few organizations do this in Nigeria. What actually inspired this decision? When did you think it was necessary for employees to have a psychologist?
For us, this actually started a few years ago, but I would say in terms of implementation, it was largely driven by what happened last year. So there were key drivers for us. We felt that there was a lot of demand on parents, mothers, as well as fathers around, managing the home, managing the business, managing your own lives, especially with the lockdown. The other was really around a lot of anxiety, especially as it relates to economic uncertainty. As at last year, a lot of people lost their jobs, some people got pay cuts and things like that. At Iko, we didn't do any of that, but for us, we felt that there was a need to address some of these issues. The third was really around the level of civil unrest, and we saw that towards the end of last year, and some families experienced very, very terrible experiences during the NSAS protests. And of course, aged parents and also employees that might be within the high-risk group. There was a lot of anxiety around that. So we reached out through our internal wellness program. We have a wellness program and a wellness team internally that consists of HR and various other members within the team. And the focus was really around, getting to see that there was a need in the business. And we sent an email. We were actually surprised. And people reached out and said, yes, they would love to speak to a mental health professional. And it's been very popular. We found that people need people to talk to. Mental health has been an issue in Nigeria. I think it's something that has been stigmatized, and I think that's wrong. Like with the health of your entire body, your mental health is also part of your body. So I think it's important that we look at that, especially as you look at productivity for your employees. Finding that work-life balance became a lot more difficult during the lockdown and COVID-19. I found that my team were working longer hours that you'd have expected than when they were coming to the office. And I appreciate them for that, but it also had a toll on each one of them, including myself.
Now, Nigeria still has the highest number of out-of-school children. Is Iko doing anything to help bridge that gap in the sector?
Absolutely. I mean, if you recall my comments around the SDG goals, the fourth goal, I believe, of the UN is quality education. And for us, we look at it as a three-pronged, really. The primary, secondary, of course, tertiary. But Our view is that there's several issues around this, and it's really around affordability and sometimes also around culture. Some people don't see the need for education at all. And of course, some people see that as a significant value add from education. What we've started to do over the past few years, we've focused a lot within the secondary and tertiary, but we started as of last year to focus quite a bit on primary. So we supported and we worked through some NGOs. Our approach is really to work through NGOs because we believe that they're closer to the communities. And we worked with them to support parents to be able to pay school fees for particular children. And we're currently building a more robust program around that this year and next year. I would say that over the last couple of years, it's been more focused more on the tertiary end. But for this year and next year, we'll do a lot more investment on the primary side and really focusing through the parents to provide them with the funds to be able to take or pay for their children's school fees.
We have more for you when we return in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Kaleidoscope on Channels Television. We continue the conversation now with Mr. Babatunde Fajemirokunle, talking about managing the impact of COVID-19 and plans for the future.
Now, COVID-19 has no doubt dealt a big blow on businesses around the world. Is Iko doing anything to manage the situation and even help others manage this?
I mean, Iko's business is about risk, right? We have deep expertise and deep understanding of risk. COVID-19, of course, was a risk that a lot of people didn't see coming. Some have said it's a 1 in 100 event, perhaps. In our case, aside the risks of morbidity and mortality of COVID, the major other risk was really around business interruption. So in our own business, over the past few years, we've always been certified by the BSI, the British Standard Institute, I believe. And the focus there was really around our business continuity plans. And we've been implementing that over the past few years, and it's audited each year. Last year, just before the lockdown, we were audited and we increased the scope to include pandemics. And once we did that, we noticed that we made a few changes very, very quickly before the lockdown. Within, I would say, the first 3 weeks of the lockdown, we paid out about 1.7 billion in claims, benefits and maturities. It didn't affect our ability to meet customer requirements. And the reason we're able to achieve that was because of our own BCP plans. So how have we been able to support other businesses in this context? One is we believe that insurance is about changing behavior. So in our case, we've worked with a lot of our clients to also work on technology tools to ensure that you can also meet up with customer requirements even in a lockdown situation. Of course, COVID, I would say, was probably a perfect storm last year, where you also had the NSARS and the protests as well towards the end of last year. And people felt that perhaps companies didn't have insurance. They did. And the reality is that there is a clause in some of these contracts that include strike, riots, civil commotions, and clients are getting paid for some of the disruptions that they experienced last year. So for us, aside our ability to work in very, very difficult circumstances, we've also been able to meet our requirements for claims and payments when required. We've also been able to support businesses at their times of need, and I think that's what we're there for. And we're also supporting businesses in building up their own BCP plans to ensure that should there be any other interruption in their businesses, it could be anything, as we've seen as of last year, they'll be able to still operate going forward.
Action Aid Nigeria is one of the organizations you have partnered with in carrying out developmental or infrastructural development across the country. Tell us this project you have done and other partnerships perhaps you might have with other organizations.
It's a new collaboration we have with Action Aid. They brought some insights or some, how would I say, some activities or beliefs that are still implemented across the country. In our case, they informed us of infanticide, especially in about 57 communities in the FCT. And we couldn't believe that those type of beliefs and activities still happen today. And so we've collaborated with them. And ActionAid also supports the Vine Heritage Homes, which actually rescues these children and provides them with a home and education. And some of the things around infanticide are things I don't want to really talk about on television, but you wouldn't believe what people do. We felt that it was barbaric, really, and we felt that it's something that needs to change. We supported them with investing in boreholes facilities, some of the infrastructure developments of the homes. We also supported them around pledging for the annual fees for the children from our businesses as well, especially our travel policies and our retail policies. We felt that we would contribute a bit of the premiums for that every single year. And we're going to be doing that this year. We're going to be doing that going forward. And we felt that what the work that they're doing is very close to those communities within the FCT. And it's something that for us would help around good health, well-being, and fits within our own goals for our CSR program over the next few years.
Iko Insurance is the largest insurer in the industry. It's a key player in the oil and gas sector. I mean, I could go on and on. You're rated a top 3 general insurance business in Nigeria. Let's talk about your travel insurance unit. It is currently the leader in the industry. The future is looking bright for you, isn't it?
I think so. I believe so. The industry, in our view, is still a lot of untapped potential. As I mentioned earlier, I think that we're really at the cusp of retail expansion. Iko Insurance in particular is probably well positioned for retail expansion. You would find that most players in Nigeria are really focused on the corporate side of the business and are just looking to build on the retail. And the industry as a whole has more corporate premiums than retail. Iko is the opposite, actually. We have about 70% of our premiums from our retail business. And that cuts across mainly our life side of the business as well as non-life. And travel insurance or other personal lines are within the aspect of retail. And on other travel insurance, you have also auto insurance and of course, home insurance. These are all policies that typically individuals could buy. And as the economy opens up and people travel more, people get vaccinated, there will be a need. I think even companies and countries would see a need to enforce more use of travel insurance because it's typically a bundled policy with some health benefits as well. So in case you fall ill in another country, you will get some money from your policy to be able to pay for that treatment. And for us, over the next few years, we've seen that there's a need to continue to invest in our fundamentals. And our fundamentals for us is talent. I can't mention that enough. I believe that as a business, a service business, with an industry where products are very similar, one of the key areas that differentiates companies is around customer experience as well. So we've also invested quite a bit in our customer experience. We continue to invest in technology, so we can, for most of our retail products and our personal lines, we can also provide your policies online. And we've also looked to invest a lot more on some of our apps to be able to, for customers to be able to acquire or buy policies and even view their status of their policies online. Capital is key for any insurance company. Any insurance company that also wants to manage special risks like oil and gas, aviation, and so on. And over the last couple of years, Iko's share capital, shareholders' funds, has increased significantly. We've brought in new investors. We brought in Leapfrog Investments, which is a global investment fund with about 2 billion funds under management. And they invested in Iko and one of the major shareholders today. And we've allocated quite a bit of the capital invested in our non-life business, which is focused more on oil and gas, aviation, as well as other personal lines. So I believe that we are positioned for the future, and I believe that, we will continue to attain leadership in areas that we're very strong at, and we will continue to invest in our fundamentals to ensure that we maintain or retain market leadership going forward. On our CSR, we don't see it as lip service. You just have to look at the fundamentals of Nigeria to understand that we have serious problems. And I believe that there's a need for private sector to get very much involved in supporting our communities. We believe in stakeholder capitalism. So it's not just shareholders. We look at our employees, we look at our customers, we look at our communities. We also look at government. And using the SDG goals, we focus on the 5 areas, but over the next 3 years, we're going to push that up to about 6 to 7. And the focus now would be really on assisting families, especially around poverty and hunger, assisting families around health and well-being, and we'll continue to do investments in quality education, especially at primary level, and of course, a decent workplace to assist even employees that might have one disability or the other. Because one of the key things of the SDG goals is actually focused on disability. And I think a lot of people don't focus on that. So if you observe, if you come into Iko, we have different pathways, especially to be able to have access for various people. And we will continue to invest in that in the future. And it is a board mandate. So it's not something that we just do off the cuff. And we allocate part of the profits that we earn each year for CSR. And we put it aside within our investments and use part of that income to invest in some of our projects for each year. And we're optimistic that over the next few years, we will even make a lot more impact than we planned to do.
And with that, we draw the curtains on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please go to youtube.com/channelsweb, click on playlist, then scroll to find Kaleidoscope. Click on it, and of course, you can watch various editions of the program. I'm Anne Nwawodo. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.